the Atlanta Falcons were able to get at least something for nothing, which was Desmond Ridder, as he has been traded to the Cardinals for wide receiver Rondale Moore, former second-round pick by Arizona out of Purdue, who never really found a footing down in the desert, but now he gets a fresh start in Atlanta with Kirk Cousins. He fills a nice need for the Falcons as a speedy receiver, a gadget-esque guy. I wouldn't call him like a Cordarrelle Patterson because the two are very different when it comes to build, but you've got Drake London and Darnell Mooney, and now you add Rondale Moore for maybe some jet sweeps and things like that underneath. So we're going to react to this trade, break it down, get you guys involved, but as things stand, it's a pretty simple cut and dry trade. The Arizona Cardinals get Desmond Ridder, who I think actually can make an okay backup quarterback. And that may not be very encouraging to Cardinals fans to hear, but they learned how important, like every other team has pretty much learned over the last at least 2 seasons, it is to have a backup quarterback. And Desmond Ridder is not some unplayable player, right? He's not a Nathan Peterman, 5 interceptions in 1.5, and it's somehow a miracle that he still has a job in the NFL, right? He's not like, we're going to turn to Tim Boyle for a spark kind of bad. I think he is a little bit above that. So for the Cardinals, they get some stability at the backup quarterback position. And for Atlanta, they get a wide receiver in Rondale Moore because they went when they went into free agency with just 1 receiver, they now have added 3 more. Darnell Mooney, Cordarrelle Hodge, and Rondale Moore. So I feel like Atlanta will probably lower their sights on wide receiver with the 8th pick in the draft and likely turn their attention to edge rusher now that they have added 3 wide receivers in a span of about 48 hours. But grade the Falcons' Desmond Ridder trade, A, B, C, D, or F. I gave the analogy, it's kind of like that Office episode when Dwight's got the magic beans and he goes to like the Office flea market and he keeps trading them and trading them. This isn't getting all the way to the magic beans. I think he started like a thumbnail or something, like a thumbtack. And then he got a thumbtack
all the way to a telescope.
And then he traded that for Jim's magic beans that weren't supposed to be out.
Yes.
So I wouldn't call Rondale Moore a telescope in this analogy, but it's better than a thumbtack. I think it's an upgrade, right?
Yes.
Now, Rondale Moore's got 1 year left on his deal, so if it doesn't work out, boo-hoo, you're basically just swapping contracts. One guy was a second-round pick, the other was a third, so you're not saving or losing much money at all, and you are moving on from a quarterback that clearly has no future in Atlanta, and you're getting a position of need that has a high upside, has some great speed to his game, and if it doesn't work out, what did it cost you? A guy that was going to either get cut or sit on your bench all season? I don't see the downside to this trade whatsoever. So for me, I'll give it like a B+. I would give it an A if Rondale Moore was actually a much more proven wide receiver and Atlanta fleeced him or something. But if you're looking at this from the Cardinals' perspective, they're moving on from a second-round pick that never really blossomed into much. So I don't think he's going to be sorely missed in the desert, but the Falcons do at least get an opportunity to see if they can sort of uncover that second-round potential in him. $5 Super Chat rolling in from Jonathan Carr. It makes sense letting Ridder go. He does not fit the style of Kirk. Morris likes gunslingers. Smith like dual threats. He plays more like Kyler. I do agree that if you look at Arthur Smith's, and this is what Jonathan's talking about, quarterback history, like even Ryan Tannehill, he had some legs to him. He was unafraid to move the pocket and run around a little bit. He goes to Atlanta. He moves on from Matt Ryan. He brings in Marcus Mariota. He drafts Desmond Ridder. Like, he liked quarterbacks that had the ability to extend and move the pocket around and have some running upside to their game. That is obviously not Kirk Cousins, and it's 100% not Kirk Cousins after an Achilles tear. So if there was an incident where Atlanta had to make a change at quarterback, I think they would want the backup to be a little bit more in the Raheem Morris family trust in terms of quarterback styles compared to rolling it with Desmond Ridder, which really wouldn't be a good fit for the way this offense was supposed to be constructed. So, Jonathan, I appreciate your super chat, and I think it's a very insightful one and a very accurate one to say. So, let's see what you guys are saying. Carson, talk about the tampering. We are going to talk about the tampering. I, believe it or not, had a whole show like scripted out for today. and then this trade went down, so I kind of had to push things back a little bit. But we will talk about the Kirk Cousins alleged tampering with the Atlanta Falcons and what the ramifications could be for that. What else we got going on here? Ryan's giving it an A+. We got 400 people nearly tuned in, only 26 likes. So if you're just stopping by, reminder, hit that thumbs up button. It boosts this to more Falcons fans. Producer Smitty, can we throw on Rondale Moore's stats, though? I think people would want to see, what are they getting out of Rondale Moore? Because I'm not going to stand here and act like, oh my God, Atlanta just got an incredible wide receiver for a backup quarterback. It's exciting, don't get me wrong, but I do think maybe it's worth kind of just tapping the brakes a little bit. He's coming off a 352-yard season. Unfortunately, he missed some time in 2022 and then missed Kyler Murray to start 2023, but he never really developed into what Arizona thought they were getting out of West Lafayette, which would be an ultimate speed demon and more than just a gadget player. And now I'm starting to think he may be just a gadget player, right? A guy that you can put in motion, hand it off to on a jet sweep, maybe design a quick screen pass to. Can you get him on a crosser over the middle of the field and have him turn it up for yards after the catch? I don't think he'll ever really turn into a big down-the-field threat receiver. He's 5'8", 170-ish pounds. But again, you are getting something for Desmond Ridder, which already feels like a win. And then you toss into the fact that Rondale Moore was a second-round pick. And just in our brains, that makes it sound like a super cool trade. Like the Falcons just got a second-round wide receiver for a backup quarterback. How could you not be excited about this? So just from a caveman element, like my small brain can be like, Desmond Ridder sucks, backup quarterback, former second-round pick. This is an awesome trade for Atlanta. Rondale Moore might not amount to much in Atlanta, but you know what? It's still worth something for Desmond Ridder. So if you are excited for Rondale Moore, like today's video. Fun fact about your host, I grew up a Purdue Boilermaker fan. Both of my parents went to colleges that just didn't have football teams. So a lot of my family went to Purdue, so I was a big Purdue fan. And then once I went to college, I pretty much dropped Purdue. But I was big Purdue football, which is actually very small fan base like us.
Yeah.
So I was all, when I saw Rondale Moore, I was like, I know Rondale Moore. Like I watched his games at Ross-Ade Stadium. Him and David Bell were awesome together.
Wow, I didn't know they were a duo in college.
Oh, yeah. You kidding me?
Sweet.
They dominated the Big Ten.
Wow.
A couple Big Ten wide receivers. Big Ten receivers of the year.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. There's some big hot shots in Ohio State at Columbus, but not like they have in West Lafayette. Neither guy has developed to much in the NFL. We got some more Super Chats rolling in. Jonathan Carr, where's the cap for this team? Okay, I'm sorry. Where do you cap this team? Oh, I think like salary cap. Sadly, I say first-round exit. Okay, where do we think the ceiling is for the 2024 Atlanta Falcons? The Buccaneers could win a home playoff game as the 4 seed against a 5 seed. I think Kirk Cousins has a unfortunate short resume in the postseason. He is 1-3 all-time in the playoffs. So I think this is a playoff winning team, right? I think this is a team, before we even get into the draft, that could win a home playoff game. Would you need a bounce or two to go your way? Yeah, probably. It's just incredibly difficult to say, of course, without knowing who's on the other sideline when it comes to playoffs. But, Jonathan, I do think surface level, I think this is a team that can win a playoff game. I do. If the Buccaneers roster could win a playoff game last year, I don't see why Atlanta can't have the same level of expectations. Marlon Kuzi with a $5 super chat. I can roll with this trade. So now this means that Cordarrelle Patterson likely gone. Dang, I like CP84. Marlon, your head is in the right place. It's not likely. It's pretty much definitive. Cordarrelle Patterson 45 minutes ago tweeted out, Atlanta, it's been real. Peace out. So, unfortunately, the ultimate ambassador for any team, CP84, his job has likely been replaced. And had they not even trade for Rondale Moore, I don't think he was coming back. I think Cordarrelle Patterson will always hold like a soft spot in my heart. Went to my favorite college and had a really unique NFL career. Like, I don't know how you even describe Cordarrelle Patterson to someone that's never watched football before, right? Like,
Do-it-all guy.
Do-it-all guy.
Gadget guy. I mean, that's kind of a football term, right?
Here's like the craziest thing. What player becomes a running back at the age 29, 30 and play their best days at that age at the running back position?
That's insanity. I mean, it's unheard of.
We got producer Tyler Smith, by the way. That's the voice of God you're hearing behind us.
Yes.
We are going to break down this trade in further detail. But quick reminder, because I see a couple of super chats are rolling in right now. We are doing what I think is a pretty cool giveaway for the month of March. So we're going to run it all month long, not just for today's show. But it is an autographed Michael Vick Falcons helmet. Got to see the autograph on the top right there. So if you send in a $10 super chat, we'll enter you into that giveaway, which we will do on the last show of the month of March. So it won't be at the end of today's show, but it will accumulate and build up. So a $10 super chat if you want to get an autographed Michael Vick mini helmet right here. It's got the authenticity and the whole 9 yards. So we're going to be doing that throughout the entire month. But let's talk about Desmond Ridder going to Arizona. We got a bird trade. I kind of like a bird trade.
Bird trade is good.
And I will say, superior bird are the Falcons.
100%.
Like the Arizona Cardinals, I think the Arizona Cardinals don't get enough criticism for having a really dumb name. The history is they were the Chicago Cardinals. They actually moved to St. Louis. At one point, for like 3 to 4 years, Smitty, there were 2 St. Louis Cardinals, baseball and football.
Wow.
And then they continued their voyage west and went to Arizona.
Now,
have stayed the Arizona Cardinals. There is no cardinal bird in the desert.
I don't think they've ever been there.
No, that is foreign territory to them. It's also arguably the saddest franchise. They are very old, going back to the Chicago Cardinals days,
Paul,
and have never won.
That trivia question from way back when, I remember.
They are the longest drought of all major sports teams.
Of all major sports, right? I was wondering if it was NFL or major sports. I remember it being major sports.
Major sports, the longest one. For sure NFL, someone can fact check me on the other 3, but no one's as old as them and has never won. So sorry to all the Cardinals fans that just popped in here to see what are we getting at Desmond Ridder. Oh, I'm just catching strays right now from this YouTuber. Logan707, besides edge, what's a need for us in the draft? You know, it's kind of funny, Logan, is I was preparing our live show for today, and we were going to talk about 2 other signings Atlanta made, re-signings, and some other news like the Kirk Cousins tampering allegations. And then I thought, let's do a mock draft post-free agency. And I was going to go Dallas Turner at number 8 and then still go wide receiver at 43, which I still think could very much be in play. But besides edge, I'm thinking you want to get some more meat on the bone at interior defensive line. Grady Jarrett comes off a torn ACL. David Onyemata played very well last season. A lot of the backups, though, were our free agents. So I think that's a good spot to add some depth to. There is nothing more infuriating, and you don't really picture it in like March or April, but come October, November, as a fan, there is nothing worse than when your team is just getting run over and they can't stop a thing, and your offense doesn't get a chance to get back on the field. So I'd like to see some added depth at the run-stopping unit. It wasn't bad last year, but I do think that's a good point of emphasis for replenishing the ranks a little bit. I'll also add cornerback. If they don't feel like Clark Phillips is truly ready to be a starter, maybe you go get a veteran in free agency. King Solstice, $5 super chat. Thank you, Mr. King. Appreciate your very generous donation and support of Falcons Today. So if you are happy about the Desmond Ridder trade, like the video. We have 570 people hanging out. We're about to break down this trade in full detail. Only 103 likes. Can we get to like 120? Also, lucky for you guys, I am talking to a camera and a wall that's got a TV mounted to it and a bunch of lights. But those of you that 12 months ago were furious that I even suggested the idea of going to get Lamar Jackson and dumping Desmond Ridder, you know who you are. The comments are still alive and well in the comment section from 12 months ago. Shame on you. You know who you are. You said, why would we get Lamar Jackson and pay him all that money? We have Desmond Ridder. Like, what are you smoking? Do not let the FDA find out about that. Because that shit, the DEA will get shut down real fast if you really think Lamar, you got Desmond Ridder. I even tried. I did my best in the preseason. I did say something nice about Desmond Ridder every day. I couldn't do it. And even in the season, I was like, you know what? He's actually got a better arm than I thought. He just turns the ball over at an unbelievably high rate that's just not sustainable. I think we might do an expose, though. And here's the crazy thing is, like, people were like, no, it's not that we don't want Lamar. We don't want to pay him. And I never understood we don't want to pay him. What do you mean you don't want to pay him? If he's a great football player, do you not want him on your team? I think Mitchell Renz at the Raiders Report, he made a great analogy. And this is not quite apples to apples, but I think it would kind of like when you graduate college and you go back to your college town and maybe you're hanging out with some guys that were younger than you and you're at the bar and they're getting PBR and you're getting a nice draft beer. And they're like, why are you not doing the $1 bucket? And it's like, because I have disposable income and I'm tired of drinking that piss.
Yeah.
I want to get something nice. Don't you want to get something nice? Go get a real quarterback. It costs $200 million.
It wasn't just Atlanta either. It was the collective NFL just banding against not paying the guy. I mean, he deserved it.
It was an ultimate collusion. P. Rich, I see your super chat. Let's actually get to it after this cut. So P. Rich, I'm just going to put the timeout on your super chat. We're going to put it on screen and talk about it and whatnot after I break down this Desmond Ridder trade because I've got 616 people waiting for me to break down this move. So, P. Rich, just bear with me for a moment. Are we ready to get into the nooks and crannies of Desmond Ridder getting traded to the Arizona Cardinals, which has a little bit more implications than just Rondale Moore to Atlanta, and I'll share that on the show. We have 147 likes. Give me 3 more likes, and we'll get this plane off the ground. 150, and then we are ready to roll. And just like that, we're at 151. Mr. Tyler Smith, are you ready to learn all about Rondale Moore, the second-round pick out of Purdue for the Arizona Cardinals?
Sounds like a good plan. Let's learn about the Boilermaker and say goodbye to Desmond Ridder.
Let's do it. Desmond Ridder, you are no longer a Falcon. I got that one right. He has been traded to the Arizona Cardinals for wide receiver Rondale Moore. So we're going to get to know Rondale Moore a little bit, and then we'll talk about the departure of Desmond Ridder and what that means, which it doesn't mean a whole lot, although I do think it has some ramifications at the backup quarterback position. But it's a pretty cut and dry, straightforward trade. It's Desmond Ridder for Rondale Moore. Now, Desmond Ridder, of course, starting 17 games for Atlanta over the course of 2 seasons, did not play very well, and well, Raheem Morris was pretty blunt about it when he said, I wouldn't have this job right now if we had better quarterback play at the NFL Combine. But let's talk about Rondale Moore a little bit because I think we're all pretty much ready to put the Desmond Ridder era behind us. So Rondale Moore, a 2021 second-round pick by the Cardinals out of Purdue, is a speedy gadget-type guy. He's 5'8", 170 pounds. So I think Arizona thought he could maybe develop into a more downfield player. Instead, that part of his game never really took off, and that I think is accurately represented in 3 straight seasons with a season high of 435 yards and 1 touchdown. So don't get me wrong, I am excited about this trade because you at least got something for what I thought would be maybe a 6 or at best a 6th or 7th round draft pick, and instead you're able to flip it for a former second rounder, which maybe that second rounder will never really turn much into the NFL, but for now, just in my head, Desmond Ridder for a position of need that was a former second-round pick, how can you not be optimistic about it, right? Here's what the updated depth chart looks like, by the way. They brought back Cordarrelle Hodge, which we'll talk about later on in the video, but Drake London now being joined by Darnell Mooney, 3-year, $39 million contract. Rondale Moore on the last year of a very cheap rookie contract. Cordarrelle Hodge returns. So Atlanta now goes from 1 to 4 wide receivers after entering free agency with just Drake London. But like I said, this is taking absolutely what I thought would be nothing and at least flipping it into something that, hey, it happened to be at a decent position of need for you at wide receiver, and it got some, juice to it. Because when you're a second-round pick, like first and second-round picks, you can kind of ride that train for an extra year or two, and the fan base can still hold that belief of, Well, one day you'll get to that level. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been picked that early. So ultimately, I feel like this is a great trade for Atlanta. They got something for nothing. They cost them nothing to get Rondale Moore. And if he turns into a, decent gadget number 3, number 4 guy, I'm on board. I mean, how can you not be, right? Like I said, you were likely going to either just keep Desmond Ridder on the bench all season or maybe even cut him if you didn't feel like he would be a good fit in a new locker room with a new head coach or be a good fit in the scheme that Atlanta plans to run with Kirk Cousins and Raheem Morris now calling the shots and Zach Robinson at offensive coordinator. So let me know. Do you like the trade? Yes or no? I love the trade just from the standpoint of Desmond Ridder was a dead man walking. He had no future in Atlanta. So to get something for him, I mean, I thought it would be a 6 or a 7. So to get a player, I mean, it feels like you kind of cut the line a little bit and you get a player already who I think has a real chance of maybe not being a great receiver in Atlanta, but if you can get 500 yards and 2 or 3 touchdowns, that's 500 more yards and 2 or 3 more touchdowns than you were going to get from Desmond Ridder all season long. So, yeah, sign me up for this being a great trade for Atlanta. Now, we're going to talk more about this in just a second and talk about what that means for the backup quarterback position. But first, I do want to highlight our sponsor today, which is Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy, and the largest DFS platform in North America, where all you do is pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Now, we all know that the action on the floor is heating up, but one of my favorite things about Prize Picks is they offer injury insurance. So let's say one of your players goes down in the first half of a game. If they don't return in the second half, then that player projection won't count against you, and the rest of your entry stays alive. Now, here are the selections that I would say I'm going with, but my producer is a St. Bonaventure alum, and these are the selections he is going with. So we're going to ride with the Bonnies today, boys and girls. We're taking the Moore on James Harden. It's Pi Day now, 3.14 points. And then I don't know who that is. I have no idea who that is, but evidently they deserve the more and the less. Smitty, do you want to vouch for this or what?
Absolutely. It's the Atlantic 10 tournament. College basketball is getting hot. It's win or go home. Darrell Banks, if you remember the Peacocks of St. Peter's a few years ago, he was the leading scorer on that team. So he knows how to shine when the lights are bright. Yeah. And Chad Venning's been playing very bad over the last couple of stretches. I think he's going to have a mid-game again.
Prize Picks is going to revoke this sponsorship deal with us. All right, download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. I know you all probably forgot that already, so don't worry. I put it in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. So some re-signings that happened earlier before the trade went down, which, by the way, one final thought I just want to air out on the Desmond Ridder trade. This definitely shapes up for Taylor Heinicke possibly staying in Atlanta to be the backup quarterback. So just going to put that on your radar. Wouldn't be surprised if they still decide to move on from him. There are a lot of cap savings to be had. I'm frankly shocked he is still on the roster, but just going to put that on your map right now. But let's talk about Cordarrelle Hodge. He comes back after a pretty solid year, like 14 grabs, 232 yards, and an offense that really lacked downfield vertical passing, and he wasn't the number 1 or the number 2. So I think just from a special team standpoint and a roster round-out standpoint, it's not a bad move. Like, I don't think Cordarrelle Hodge becomes a lock to make the roster still. He's wide receiver 4 in my eyes, so you go get a guy in the draft at pick 43. Now you got 5 real contenders for the roster. You get a surprise UDFA. Maybe that guy takes Cordarrelle Hodge's spot. So that is a signing that went down in the wide receiver room before the Rondale Moore trade got done. And then also Storm Norton, all-time name, offensive tackle, re-signing with the Atlanta Falcons. Remember last season when Caleb McGarry and Jake Matthews kind of battled injuries at stretches? Storm Norton was the backup who filled in pretty often. And PFF actually graded pretty kindly to him. An overall grade of 68.3. He had 1 penalty, 1 sack allowed, and 283 snaps. So a pretty decent sample size for a swing tackle that plays on both sides of the offensive line. And again, Atlanta needed to have a swing tackle because they were starting to get a little thin at offensive line depth. And that's primarily because they've been spoiled. Like Jake Matthews, Chris Lindstrom, just Iron Men, right? Caleb McGarry, not missing much time in his career. Drew Dahlman, Matthew Bergeron, I don't think either of those guys missed a single snap last season. So you don't want to, go so skinny at offensive line that if the worst happens, you're unprepared. But the good news for Atlanta is they do have a lot of confidence that those starting five can play all 17 games. So to wrap up here, let's just kind of refresh everyone's memories on all the moves Atlanta has made so far in free agency. Kirk Cousins comes over on a 4-year, $180 million deal, of course. We're going to have a video, by the way, on the tampering allegations against Atlanta and Kirk Cousins later on here on the channel, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. Tight end Charlie Woerner, 3-year, $12 million contract. He had an all-time quote at his press conference. He's like, when it comes down to blocking, it really just comes down to whether or not you want to do it. And I was like, that's the most tight end thing I've ever heard, because some tight ends maybe don't want to block too much. This guy, he enjoys flipping pancakes and working for free at IHOP. Darnell Mooney, 3-year, $39 million deal. I think it's a great fit for Atlanta. If you think about what Kirk Cousins did so well in Minnesota, it's the play-action fake, which when you've got Bijan Robinson, linebackers are going to be inclined to believe he's getting the football. And Darnell Mooney has some incredible speed and vertical threat presence that he can take the top off of defense, and there can be a moon ball coming from Kirk Cousins after a play fake to Bijan. And then Storm Norton re-signs, and also Cordarrelle Hodge as well. And then most recently, it's the trade that had Desmond Ridder go to the Arizona Cardinals for Rondale Moore, which, hey, Rondale Moore amounts to absolutely nothing in Atlanta. Perfectly fine with me. It cost you absolutely nothing, and there's only upside to be had. I almost look at this as just acquiring Rondale Moore for nothing. The only downside would be he's going to have a roster spot, and if he stinks, maybe that robbed an opportunity of some day 3 pick or UDFA to get on the roster. But ultimately, how can you not be just jazzed up about the possibility of the Falcons somewhat getting that second-round talent out of him and putting it on their field, because the Cardinals, with just a bad head coach and quarterback situation for far too many years at this point, whether Kyler was hurt, not playing well, whatever it may be, head coaching carousel going on, maybe a bit of stability in Atlanta could help recheck and recalibrate Rondale Moore's career. So grade the Falcons' free agency so far, A, B, C, D, or F. The only thing that's holding me back from giving it a flat-out A grade is the edge rusher spot. They still have a need at edge rusher, so I'm going to give it a B+ grade. There's more work to be done, I believe, and maybe they wait to the draft to do that. I feel a little bit bad for Terry Fontenot. When you think about what his plan at edge rusher, he wanted to trade for Montez Sweat. That fell through because the Bears swooped in and got him. Sounded like he kind of wanted Danielle Hunter. Fortunately, the hometown Texans came calling. And then sounded like he may have wanted Khalil Mack. He's not getting traded. So a lot of the plans in place for Fontenot to address edge rusher have unfortunately all just completely evaporated. That's going to do it for us on this edition of Falcons Today. Make sure to subscribe, by the way, because you have learned by now, hopefully, this team is not done making moves. They are going all in on 2024. So if you want to be a part of that, hit the sub button down below, and you're going to be locked in for the best free Falcons YouTube coverage out there. Do you like the trade? Yes or no? Get in the chat right now. I want to hear from everyone watching. I'm seeing a B. I'm seeing a B- from Archangel. Oh, we're talking about free agency right now. Diego says yes. Lav says yes. V-Clad, I just don't even see what a legitimate downside is to this trade. Unless you really feel like Desmond Ridder is an all-time great quarterback and the Falcons gave up on him too early. No. This is not Brett Favre 2.0, okay? This is a very nice deal for Atlanta. Now, I just say we get back to some Super Chats. P. Rich with a $10 Super Chat. Let's go, Mr. Rich. Mike Vick mini helmet raffle. I need that. You, my friend, have been entered. Once again, come back to the last show of the month of March. Usually we do our live shows on Thursdays, but I already know that final Thursday I'm off, so it'll be on the final Wednesday of the month of March. So P. Rich, we will see you then, my friend. Keenan Melvin, Heineke's still here. Hopefully, we drafting our future QB this draft to sit. Also, Mike Vick helmet. I thought about whether or not Atlanta goes quarterback, and I'm sure they're going to do a lot of research on the quarterbacks, excluding the top 3 to 4. And if they feel like this Spencer Rattler guy, Michael Pratt, Joe Milton, one of those kind of day 2 to day 3 guys really catches their attention, and he happens to be there in a round they didn't expect him to be, they may just take him on value alone, which is very fitting for Kirk Cousins. Because if you remember how he came into this league, he was picked by the Washington Redskins 2 rounds after they drafted RG3, who they traded heaven and earth to move up for. Why? Because they loved Kirk Cousins as a prospect, and they felt like this is just too good of a value to pass on. So it would be relatively fitting if that's the way it went down for Kirk Cousins at the end of his career in Atlanta. Although with the 4-year contract, even if he only plays 3 years of it, if you draft a guy this year and Kirk Cousins plays well, years 1, 2, and 3, and then you decide we're going to move on, maybe he starts to regress a little bit in that 3rd season, a little bit like Matt Ryan before he went to Indy. I mean, that rookie contract has pretty much gone to waste. So unless they really love someone, I think the surprise quarterback pick is more likely in next year's draft. Jonathan Carr, the $5 super. I still wish they draft a wide receiver. I know the fans don't want to admit it, but we could walk out with the new wide receiver one this class is that deep that they could be. I think they're going to go Dallas Turner at 8. I know I've got the jinx of death right now, so I got to get one right here, and unfortunately I got to wait till April to do so. I say that because I think Arthur Smith wanted to go offense, and he got his wish. Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. What do you think Raheem Morris is going to want to do? Probably help the other side of the field a little bit more. As a defensive guy, that just gives him more motivation to do so. So that's why I think it's going to be Dallas Turner, but man, do I love Rome Odunze.
He's my favorite. He's my favorite in the draft.
I think he is.
He's just the best catcher. Like, he's the all-around receiver. Like,
yeah.
He's talent.
I think if you think about the ultimate core of what makes a great wide receiver, it's catching the football.
Yeah.
And I know at the collegiate level, you might think all these guys can do that, but the way he does it, his radius is just so big. Mm-hmm. It's one of those, F it. Rome's down there somewhere.
He's a deep throw target. He's a red zone target. He is a sideline catch target. Like, he can be effective at 3 levels of the field.
I think they go Dallas Turner at 8. Then pick 43. It's hard to say who I think they'll go with because I have no idea which wide receiver will be available. Like, will a Xavier Worthy or an A.D. Mitchell fall? Unlikely, but it's possible.
Yeah, I could see A.D. Mitchell falling. I think Xavier Worthy's 40 time is just going to infatuate some 80-year-old owner, and it's just going to be – he's going to go a little earlier than expected.
One name that I like, but not for round 2 because I just need to see more than just 1 year of production, is the South Carolina wide receiver, Xavier Legette. The size, the overall speed, it's just such a rare combination. One of the best combine testers this past year. Mm-hmm. He didn't really come into a starting wide receiver role until his final year in Columbia. Went through some incredibly difficult to imagine hardships during his life. So I think maturity-wise, like, he's overcome so much that you see some guys make it to the NFL, and I think they take it for granted a little bit, and they waste the opportunity, right? I don't think that's going to happen here. And I do think you got to do more than just X's and O's research on prospects. So big fan of Xavier Legette. I don't think he goes that early because of the lack of production or, like, over the course of his collegiate career. But he would be a really cool pick for Atlanta. Trey 1222. What's going on, Trey? Petey, following the trade with Desmond, do you expect us to cut Taylor and draft a backup QB in round 3 or 4? I thought they were going to cut Taylor Heinicke. They would have done that already, right? I don't really see the advantage to holding on to him longer. I mean, you kind of just screwing him over a little bit because now all these backup quarterback roles are being filled. So I'm sure if he wanted to get released or if he knew the Falcons were going to release him, it would have likely happened by now, but maybe not. I still wouldn't rule out a quarterback pick. I just think it has to be one that, like, overwhelms the Falcons in round 3 where they can't believe that guy's available. JC Tornado, trade Heinicke or release by June 1st, draft edge at number 8, second round a QB, and 2 wide receivers in the 3rd round. I don't think they're trading Heineke. I think Heineke almost feels much more solidified at the backup role, which, listen, I think there is something to when head coaches get a first year, when a head coach gets an opportunity in his first season, they may overlook backup spots because they're so focused on getting the best starting 22. And then when an injury happens, well, they don't have a good plan B. And I think that's what makes this Raheem Morris hire a good hire in some ways, because as a former head coach and as a longtime assistant, he understands the value of not putting all of your eggs in one basket at a position. So I think he's going to want to have a good backup quarterback plan in place, because something were to happen to Kirk Cousins, he doesn't want to be the head coach that traded for Kirk Cousins, didn't win a single game the following season, and got fired because he didn't have a good backup plan in place. So I don't think they just turn it all over to a rookie to be the backup. I think Heineke is much more likely to stay now.
He's not, Jeff Driscoll or Brett Ripien going out there. Like I think Taylor Heineke's a top 40 quarterback in the world.
He did not play like it last year. I do agree that coming into last year, I thought he might be. Oh my goodness! A $50 super chat might be a channel record. Reese Atkins, first time super chat, a little 2-clap action, little 1-2. Reese! Man, just having a starting caliber quarterback gets me so excited for this season, but you don't see us going anywhere other than defensive end in the first round, right? Because we've done this for so long, and I hope this year we finally address it. I do think Atlanta is just going to make the best effort possible at getting the best edge rusher in this draft. And if that means using the 8th overall pick on one, so be it. Because, Reese, you're spot on. On yesterday's video, well, first off, Reese, thank you for the super chat. I really appreciate your very, very generous support of the show. It really means a ton to me. You have no idea. When these super chats come in, they never get lost on me, because just like you guys, we're all working hard here. So for you to support the channel like this, I cannot thank you enough.
Got to give Reese a
we get some Reese in the chat.
Reese in the chat. Reese in the chat.
Everyone start fucking spamming Reese in the chat. Let's go, Reese. I love Reese's.
Yes. I mean, a top tier candy.
Oh,
sure.
Without a doubt. I'm not a big candy guy, but Reese's are my kryptonite.
Very good.
Yeah, I don't like candy, but I will have a Reese's peanut butter cup.
Is it regular peanut butter cup, mini peanut butter cup, the pieces?
Not the pieces, not the pieces.
Nah, yeah.
Peanut butter cup strictly.
M&M peanut butter is better than the Reese's Pieces for sure.
So I do think they go defensive end. What I was saying was, someone in the comments of yesterday's video was like, did this guy really just say the best defense? If the Falcons haven't had a good edge rusher since John Abraham, he sucked. I'm like, dude, I don't know what to tell you, but he factually is the best pass rusher in Falcons history. You may not like that, and I don't blame you for thinking like that's the bar, but that is true.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they haven't had a good one really since, minus a season of Vic Beasley.
I was going to say, where does Vic Beasley rank on Falcons pass rushers all time?
One-hit wonder.
One-hit wonder.
One-hit wonder. And it's not like John Abraham was bad, too. I mean, sure, was he as good as he was in New York? No, but, how often do you find edge rushers who are better in the second contract? You know what I mean? They're usually about the same or maybe a slight downtick. We do have over 550 people tuned in right now. So we have 20,191 subscribers. Can we get ourselves to 20.2? Are 9 people currently viewing us that are not subscribed? And if so, can you please consider subscribing? Because getting ourselves to 20,200 subscribers, my goal was to get to 20K before free agency. We accomplished that in the nick of time. Now I'm thinking the draft. And again, this is just the YouTube selfish side of me coming out right now. But that's in about 6 weeks or so. And I'd love to see us be at 21,000 subscribers by the time the NFL draft gets underway. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so. And if you are subscribed, type me in the chat. I want to give some shout-outs to our loyal subscribers here, as we've got a super chat rolling in. Let's go. JC, I need 900 more subscribers. 807. $5 super chat from William Harley. William, thank you so much. Appreciate your support here on the channel. Carson subscribed. Archangel is subscribed. Let's go. Brandon Johnson, sub gang. That's what I'm talking about. Man, this Desmond Ridder trade, it just feels like it's one of the most simplistic trades you've ever seen in the NFL. You don't get player-for-player swaps hardly ever.
It was kind of refreshing when I saw it. I was
Like,
like, no picks involved? Let's go.
That's such an NBA thing, and that makes NBA trades somewhat easier to grade because you don't have to, like, with picks, you don't know what those picks will become.
You have established, history of
Right.
the players you're trading for.
And I look at this like, oh, this is actually both teams satisfying a need.
Yeah.
Cardinals
really
needed a
didn't have
backup quarterback.
today.
I was trying to think. The Cardinals quarterback room last year, the backup was Clayton Tune.
Clayton Tune, he's still there.
Okay, can you actually pull up? Someone can fact check me in the chat. I believe the Cardinals quarterback room unfolded like this last year. It started with Colt McCoy and Clayton Tune, and I believe Jeff Driscoll. No, Josh Dobbs got traded later on. They released Colt McCoy and traded for Josh Dobbs on roster cutdown day. Josh Dobbs started the first 6-7 games or so.
Yes.
Then he got traded to Minnesota. When he got traded to Minnesota, Clayton Tune had to bridge the gap until Kyler Murray returned.
Yes.
Clayton Tune started like 2 games, I think.
Okay.
And then Kyler Murray came back and started the remainder of the season. I thought he played very well. And then it was Kyler Murray, Clayton Tune. They had Jeff Driscoll. They released him. And I don't remember if anyone replaced Driscoll on that roster.
Interesting. I'm trying to see. Like, it's very difficult to see like week by week history of like who's signed to the roster.
Go to Our Lads, and they actually have a spot where you can change the week of the depth chart.
What's it called?
Type in like Cardinals depth chart. It'll be from Our Lads, and then they archive previous depth charts. So you can see what a team's depth chart was 4 years ago. Yeah.
I've never heard of this.
That's the best spot for depth charts. They do a really good job. They're better than the teams at updating their own depth charts.
Wow. Okay.
B, we'll talk about the tampering next on the show. I'm glad you brought that up. Don't worry.
Let's get to 20,200
Yeah, can we get three more subs, and then we'll break down the tampering. That sound game to everyone watching right now? JC Tornado, Saints channel sucks. We better. We got to catch the Saints and subscribers. They got a decent lead on us right now, so I need those of you watching right now to rise up and hit the sub button down below.
August 1st?
What was August 1st depth chart.
All right. At quarterback.
Yeah.
Kyler Murray on the pup list.
Yep.
Colt McCoy.
Yep.
Clayton Tune.
Yep.
Jeff Driscoll.
Yep.
And name I mentioned earlier this morning, David Blau.
Oh, I forgot he was there. Okay, then fast forward to like December.
Okay.
When Kyler Murray came back and Dobbs got traded. Man, they had like 6 different quarterbacks at one point.
Quarterback, Kyler Murray and Clayton Tune.
That was it? Okay.
That was it.
All right. So
today,
tough day for Clayton Tune. He just lost his backup job.
March 1st.
Or at least he's got to compete a little extra for it now.
March 1st, same deal.
20,202. Let's go.
Woo!
Gotta love some insurance runs. I can't wait for baseball to be back. There's nothing better than that insurance run feeling in the 8th inning.
Absolutely.
That's what that felt like right there. Right? You don't go into the 9th up by 1. Oh, we just lost insurance run. See, they got one back.
So, Josh Dobbs in September. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So they had 6 quarterbacks on the roster last year.
Are we ready to talk about some, like, tampering allegations?
I guess that's what we're calling it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe. Give me one second.
I'm just kind of catching up on the latest allegations. Yeah, you want to get some shout-outs, Smitty, in the meantime? Okay. You move it over. So there are some allegations. I don't think even the term. There's an investigation, right? So I guess that there's allegations to be had in the investigation. But Kirk Cousins, first, I think it requires a level of understanding of what the legal tampering. See, okay, playing footsie with the live sub count. We got to take it off screen. Someone's just trying to break my heart by going below it. All right. Just catching up here. Oh, this is funny.
tampering is for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
If anybody's wondering, it's obviously for Kirk. Tampering, SMH, always Falcons, always Falcon. Deuce of Dawn, come on now. Robert says, go Falcons, Braves. Ariana asks, are we going to lose draft picks? Very early in the investigation. I doubt it. Ronald saying, I just hope we don't lose picks. Yeah, that would be brutal.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah, the rumor is the Eagles did it too.
Yeah.
Deuce to Don kind of saving face there. John Sapp saying rise up. Got a couple of people saying go Braves. Yep, baseball season coming back soon.
Okay. I'm ready to go.
All right.
Sorry. I wanted to get some reading in because just some new information came to light, and I wanted to give you guys the whole story. So we're going to talk about the tampering allegations and investigation going on into the Atlanta Falcons regarding Kirk Cousins' signing. I think Kirk Cousins might have screwed the pooch a little bit. Yeah.
Think this one's on him?
Yeah, I think he might have opened his mouth a little bit too much. So we'll see what comes out of this. The more I read, actually, the more concerned I become.
Ooh,
yeah. Okay. So let's talk about Kirk Cousins and some tampering allegations. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Yep. All right. So make sure to subscribe to the channel. I know I just made awful radio the last 30 seconds, but I was getting all my ducks in the row here because we do have some, it's very, legal breakdown here when it comes to tampering. It's not just talking about a player's production on the field and stats. So I do think it's important to be caught up and well-versed in everything that's being accused and, alleged against Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. So I just want to make sure I've got all the information before I start open my big fat mouth and rambling on about things I might not know a ton about, which I'll be honest, I did not wake up today thinking we're going to talk about some allegations of tampering. But here we are. So Mike Florio did a very in-depth breakdown on it. We'll kind of peek at some of the things he said. I'll relay it to you, but I do think there are some insightful things he shared and very helpful tidbits to kind of color the picture on what exactly may have gone down and, most importantly, what could be the ramifications of it. Because, as someone in the chat pointed out, the Dolphins lost a first-round pick for talking to Tom Brady. The NFL does not mess around. The NFL just doesn't mess around when it comes to breaking their rules. I mean, they sometimes pick and choose when they want to have their battles, but they tend not to mess around too much. So we're going to break down what all went down here with Kirk Cousins and the tampering and whatnot. And then we'll just kind of talk about Kirk Cousins and his first press conference with Atlanta and some of the takeaways I've got in it. Okay. Are we ready to talk about what's kind of an uncomfortable subject because we don't know what's going to happen and we just got to hope for the best? But that's all we can do at the moment, hope.
We're officially ready.
Yep. All right, my friend. I'll kind of, by the way, just read off parts from this Mike Florio article. So there won't be quotes necessarily for that part. So just read me full screen, and I'll just read it off to everyone. That sound good? Okay. So, all in the beginning. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. So, let's break it down. Let's talk about the Kirk Cousins tampering allegations. Welcome into Falcons Today. Matthew Peterson here, reacting to the allegations about the Kirk Cousins tampering with the Falcons. So here's what I want to do on the show. I want to kind of run through a little bit of the facts and then also connecting the dots. And then we'll talk about what a potential punishment could be if they are found guilty. And then finally, we will wrap up the show by looking at Kirk Cousins' press conference and some of the takeaways I had from his first, meeting with the Atlanta media and the fan base as a result. But the story really started when Diana Rossini tweeted out, the league will be looking into potential tampering violations involving the Eagles and Saquon Barkley, as well as the Atlanta Falcons and Kirk Cousins per source. Important to note, This is standard for the league to look into such matters. So, obviously, these two are being called out by name, but I do think Diana Rossini brings up a good point of just because there's an investigation going on doesn't mean we should just rush to automatically guilty. Although, it won't be difficult to figure out whether or not they get to that verdict. Now, Mike Florio at Pro Football Talk, I think, had a very in-depth and very helpful breakdown of the alleged tampering going on with the Falcons and Kirk Cousins. And he broke it down step by step. So, first, he said, did team officials communicate with Cousins or his agent, Mike McCartney, before the start of the 52-hour negotiating window? If you're not familiar with the NFL free agency period, what goes on is you've got legal tampering on Monday through Wednesday. And then the new league year starts and there's no more legal tampering. It's just free agency and anyone can talk to anyone and sign with anyone at that point, right? During that legal tampering window, teams can talk to players' agents. They cannot talk to players themselves. Here's what the NFL's own website had on this, okay? A free agent is not permitted to visit with a team other than their current team. Furthermore, a player cannot be in contact with a team that is not their own. Only the agent can communicate on the player's behalf during this period. If a player acts as his own agent, he's out of luck. The NFL does not allow communication with another team before Wednesday. So the question kind of becomes, did the Falcons bring Kirk Cousins in for a medical visit? Take a look at that Achilles on a week before free agency. That would definitely be tampering. Cannot do that, right? Rules explicitly state so. Even if it wasn't a medical visit, did Kirk Cousins himself hop into the Flowery Branch office and check out what's going on with the Falcons? That would be very clear and obvious tampering. Did the Falcons themselves, did Raheem Morris or Terry Fontenot make a phone call to Kirk Cousins? All of these things are very easy for even a Scooby-Doo Mystery Machine team to figure out whether or not they're guilty or innocent of. You have video surveillance, a camera at the front door of every single team's facility, and you have phone records to see if you made the calls. Now, maybe the Falcons were trying to be a bit sleuthy and kind of go around these parameters. I'm not really sure, but it is definitely a wait-and-see type of mode right now for Atlanta Falcons fans. So that's the first one. That's the first step, right? Did we see a conversation go down between Kirk Cousins and the Falcons? Because you can only talk to the agent during the legal tampering window. Mike Florio also wrote, second, did Cousins or McCartney provide medical information to the Falcons before the start of the negotiating window? So, did we see some x-rays get faxed over to Flowery Branch about Kirk Cousins' Achilles? Like, those could be things that are constituted as illegal tampering, all right? Third, and this one's kind of interesting, did tight end Kyle Pitts or other players recruit Cousins with the knowledge of or at the direction of the team? Ordinarily, the tampering rules don't apply to players. That changes when players act as messengers for the organization. Pitts, who strongly denied rumors linking Cousins to Atlanta last week, was actively recruiting Cousins then and previously. Now, Mike Florio also was a guy who put out a report that Cousins was already talking to Kyle Pitts about the jersey number 8, and Kyle Pitts quote tweeted that and said, "You guys will just come up with anything." So I think Mike Florio is a little bit butthurt that Kyle Pitts called him out on what he said it was a fake news report. So I think this is Florio trying to stick it right back at Kyle Pitts. But he said Cousins said so himself. That is in reference to Kirk Cousins being in line, I think, at Disney World or something. And he got a text message from Kyle Pitts saying, yo, come down to Atlanta, which that by itself is fine. But if they find out Raheem Morris called Kyle Pitts and said, can you please encourage Kirk Cousins to come to Atlanta, that would be legal tampering. Now, we're going to look at more of this in just a second, but first I want to relay some awesome information about our sponsor today, which is Prize Picks. Thanks to Prize Picks, I've had an absolute blast getting ready for all the games on the hardwood, and it is the largest DFS platform in North America. Now, what is Prize Picks? It's really simple. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. with NBA, NHL, and college basketball entries today on Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Let me give you an example of what it looks like on the app. It's very simple. You just select the players you want and choose more or less. It's that simple, and the withdrawals are super easy as well. So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video, but download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. So let's get back to some of the tampering allegations going on here, okay? Fourth, and this is all from Mike Florio I'm reading from. Fourth, and most importantly, did Cousins speak to or meet with the Falcons officials before 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday? Cousins admitted in his introductory press conference that he spoke with the team's head athletic trainer on Tuesday. He initially used the word meeting before stopping himself and changing it to calling. Cousins also mentioned talking to Director of Player Personnel Ryan Pace. Although Cousins didn't specifically say Pace's conversation happened before 4 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, Pace's phone records will provide a simple and easy answer. So, my gut reaction is it does seem a little bit fishy, and I wonder if Kirk Cousins might have screwed the pooch a little bit when speaking to the media, right? Did Kirk Cousins say a little bit too much when it comes to when he talked to the team's athletic trainer? Did Kyle Pitts and Kirk Cousins' conversation go anything above just a friendly recruiting pitch to Atlanta, which by itself is fine? Like, I think there are some serious allegations to be had here, and if you're wondering what could happen to the Falcons, well, we saw it somewhat recently, right, with Tom Brady and the Miami Dolphins. That cost the Dolphins a first-round pick for tampering allegations that ended up being, I guess, proven true in the NFL court of law. And then there's also one more thing. Cousins admitted on Wednesday, by the way, that he participated in the recruitment of former Bears receiver Darnell Mooney, who agreed to terms with the Falcons on Tuesday morning. So it looks like there are some violations to be had here. I do think there is some level of water being held by all this stuff here when it comes to the phone call or meeting with the trainer and the pitch from Kyle Pitts. Like, it's just, there's a lot of evidence stacking up against Kirk Cousins and the Falcons. Now, what's going to happen to them? I don't know. I hope it's not a first-round pick. It was for Miami. That would really suck, especially when you pick 8th overall. Maybe because they're picking 8th overall, if they do decide to levy punishments for draft picks, it'll be maybe like some 2nd and 3rds. Maybe it's a ginormous fine. I pray it's a ginormous fine because it's not our money. But that's somewhat the latest on the allegations front for Kirk Cousins. Now, I want to dive into his press conference a little bit because he did have some other interesting tidbits he shared, not related to him basically self-incriminating himself for, violating the legal tampering period. He says, I think in Minnesota, it was trending over the last couple of off seasons to being somewhat year to year. As we talked with Atlanta, it felt like this was a place where if I play at the level I expect to play, that I can retire a Falcon. That was something that really excited me, and that's certainly the goal. You've got to earn the right to do that, but that was exciting to feel like I could get that opportunity here. So Atlanta sticking him or giving him a 4-year contract, and the big takeaway was Kirk Cousins wants to retire a Falcon because he feels like that's a spot that wanted him to retire a Falcon. Whereas in Minnesota, it seemed like the Vikings were willing to play ball and offer some sort of contract, but they didn't want to really see it all the way through for Kirk Cousins' entire career. Whereas Atlanta was more than happy to give him that long-term assurance of, if you want to play here for the rest of your NFL career, we're on board with that. Now, when it comes to where he's at in rehab on his current medical status, here's what he said. I can take drops. I can play the quarterback position, if you will, throwing the football. I think the minute I would have to leave the pocket is where you would say, yeah, he's still recovering from an Achilles. But taking drops, making throws, that's really no problem at this point. Now, watching the actual interview and then just the way I relayed the way he said it, there was a much different tone in that second part of it. But I hope he can, leave the pocket by September if needed. He tore his Achilles. I think it was in October, week 8. I think it was almost Halloween. So hopefully by the time August rolls around, he should be pretty much close to 100%. I think we'll get a much better idea when OTAs and mandatory minicamp come about. Does he have any sort of level of participation, or do they just completely shut him down and wait all the way until the summer? That will probably be our first real clue as where is Kirk Cousins really in his Achilles progression and recovery. So to kind of wrap up the show here, I want to toss a question on screen for you guys. 9.5 wins for the Falcons in 2024. Taking the more, taking the less on that. Let me know down below in the comments section. For a team that won 7 games last year, can Kirk Cousins come in and make him a 10-win team? I think so. I think he can do that, actually. Make sure to subscribe, by the way, to the channel if we get more updates on the illegal tampering allegations. You know that we're going to be the spot that breaks it down here on the channel. So don't miss a thing when it comes to the Dirty Birds when you are subscribed to the best and fastest growing Falcons YouTube community out there. I think the Falcons might be in trouble a little bit. Not going to lie. Not going to lie. Oh, Nelly. Hey, we got a $50 super chat. It's Reese. Another 50. Let's go. Man, it's what he said about Kyle hitting him up, isn't it? Also, just wanted to say, love the channel, and no amount of money could show how much I appreciate you guys for your team, for your time, I beg your pardon. Much love, my guy. Reese, big salute to you, man. Big ups to Reese. Everyone spam Reese in the chat. I've got an awesome job, and I'm grateful for it every single day, but messages like this, they really do mean a lot, and I cannot tell you my deep, full appreciation for this type of support. So, Reese Atkins, shout out to you, man. We've got a boatload of entries right now into the Michael Vick autographed mini helmet giveaway, which we're going to do on our final show in the month of March. So, Reese, for being the MVP of today's show, big ups, man. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Rise up, Reese. I did see a comment in the chat that I meant to deliver in the video, and that's kind of the best and worst part when I do a live show like this is sometimes you go into a video and you got a lot to say, and you say 9 out of the 10 things you wanted.
And then you remember you really.
And I remember at the moment it ends. One thing I forgot to say is Mike Florio is a Vikings fan.
Oh, yes.
Kind of wonder if he's writing this from a slant.
A little bit.
I'm a little pissed that Kirk Cousins got legal tampered by the Falcons, so I'm going to make it look heavy incriminating.
Yeah. I mean, listen, he's known to have slants.
Yes.
So.
That's his shtick. I don't think he tries to be down the middle.
No, it's not an objective reporting.
I think he tries to give some sort of opinion during his reporting.
Absolutely.
So I love when you make a mental note, and that's not even true for just videos. It's like sometimes when you go into if you predetermine you're going to have a fight with someone, you're like, I've got some great arguments to bring up, and then you forget one. Fuck. Okay. Reese, once again, thank you so much. All right, $10 super chat to enter the Michael Vick signed helmet raffle. If you want to be a part of that, we'll do it at the end of the month. We got 440 people still watching right now. Should we really quickly just hit the Desmond Ridder trade? It's very simple. It's Desmond Ridder for Rondale Moore. We'll throw up Rondale Moore's stats here. But it's a player-for-player swap, and I just see upside to be had for Atlanta, right? Has Rondale Moore done a whole lot through 3 years with the Cardinals? No, he's not. I think anyone telling you, oh, my God, the Falcons fleeced the Cardinals, they're speaking from a point of, well, the Falcons got a former second-round pick, which means this is an awesome deal. And don't get me wrong, it is a fun trade because Desmond Ridder was a dead man walking in Atlanta. But I do think as a group, we should probably go, whoa, slow down a little bit on Rondale Moore all of a sudden being this elite player. If I asked you for your opinion on Rondale Moore before the trade happened, how different would your opinion be after the trade happens, knowing that now he's on your team? I'm guessing it'd go way up. So I do like the trade because you weren't going to get anything for Ridder anyway. So to get a player at least, there's a chance of him developing into something. But worst case scenario, there is no worst case scenario. It's not like Ridder was ever going to start a game for this team again. So you got something out of him, right? Lav, he went to Purdue. I know. Boiler up. Him and David Bell had some good seasons in West Lafayette. I'm trying to think of all-time Purdue wide receivers. Dude, I can't. Who do you think is the all-time leading wide receiver in the NFL that went to Purdue?
I'm going to find out.
I think
probably somebody who played with Drew Brees, no?
Yeah, maybe that Drew Brees and Kyle Orton handoff. Curtis Painter also. I can't think of who that would be. But I sure hope that the tampering allegations do not result in the loss of a first-round draft pick.
Who is currently the leader? It would probably be Rondale Moore, no?
I think it would be Rondale Moore.
Yeah, he's got to have more than David Bell.
He does. I'm trying to think of another recent Purdue wide receiver taken, and no one's coming to my mind.
This is terrible because it's not giving me. Well, I guess I'd recognize it if it's somebody here, but it's not giving me positions.
I think I can figure it out.
Oh no, it is giving me positions.
You got it?
Yep.
It's gonna be a guy from the 50s.
Yeah. David Bell, Rondale Moore, D'Angelo Yancey. Who the hell?
Also, Atlanta Dog, good to see you in the chat. He says the interview he did on ESPN, he said he spoke to the staff and trainers on his drive to Atlanta. I do love that about Kirk Cousins because I don't think even if I signed a $180 million contract, I would just change my personality and become a private jet guy. I think the most I would ball out was I would just fly first class.
That's hilarious.
But like everyone's like, you drove from Michigan where he was in the offseason down to Atlanta. You didn't get a PJ for the fam, and it's like, I mean, that's just Kirk Cousins being a flannel Kirk Cousins guy. Why would you? He wants his car down there, right? He's got some kids, some youngins.
He's a simple man.
Yeah, he's a pretty simple dude. I like that. Kind of like that in my quarterback, right?
Rod Woodson went to Purdue. I didn't know that. There was not a Purdue wide receiver drafted from 2001 until 2017.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Who was it in 2017?
D'Angelo Yancey.
Nope, that's not a person.
Yep.
That's a made-up name.
That's a made-up name.
Nope, not going to believe that.
How many receiving yards?
Gobbledygook.
Oh, I don't think he ever played. He never even played.
Yeah, of course he did, because you made up a name. All
That's
right. Grade the Desmond Ridder trade. I give it a B. Like, if Rondale Moore was maybe a little bit better, I actually would go full-blown A. But like, this may end up being this likely ends up being a trade, honestly, where both these players are no longer on their new teams after 2024, and neither had a major impact. But on the slim chance Rondale Moore really turns a corner in his career, this is something Atlanta will look back at and go, oh my God, we fleeced the Cardinals. They gave up on a receiver too quickly, and all they got was our bad backup quarterback. So I don't see any kind of downside to this, right? There's just upside to be had. I almost think of it like this. Someone gave you a free lottery ticket. Is it going to hit? Probably not. But what's the downside? You didn't pay for it. And that's how I view Desmond Ridder. Like, he is worthless. Worthless to the Falcons. And I say that from a point of, once you got Kirk Cousins, like, had you drafted a quarterback or rolled with Justin Fields, there might be a level of, like, we're not 100% certain that that's our guy long term. But Kirk Cousins, you signed to a 4-year contract. There was no way Desmond Ridder was going to see the field again, especially with a new coaching staff in there. I remember when I tossed him out there on my cut candidates video, people were like, he's not getting cut. I was like, I don't think he'll get cut either. He's a decent backup quarterback, but I don't see how he really sticks in Atlanta. So now they get a trade done.
So if Rondale Moore basically, I just kind of did the math here. If Rondale Moore essentially has a 7-year career of the same numbers he's been putting up, he will be the Purdue all-time leader.
That is very depressing.
I'm trying to find a tight end potentially that might be more.
Yeah.
This is fun little research.
Uh-huh. That is brutal.
It's terrible. Dustin Keller, if you remember that name from way back when, he was a tight end at Purdue, but he has less.
I feel a little bit bad for Kirk Cousins. Like, you sign with a new team, and they are doing an investigation the moment you get there. That kind of sucks the air and the fun out of, like, oh, I get to go experience and explore, house hunting and go to Taco Mac a bunch. Like, no, like, Now you got this kind of weighing on your conscience, like, oh, I might have screwed up big time in that presser.
Yeah, it's like you walk into a surprise birthday party, and next thing you know, people are just popping the balloons.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. So we'll have to wait and see. He gets to go to Waffle House. I didn't go to Waffle House for the first time until my freshman year of college.
I went on a college visit, I believe, out to Blacksburg, West of Virginia.
Went to Virginia Tech?
That was my number one, other than my good old alma mater.
I can't believe you picked that over Virginia Tech. I see where Michael Rogers. I actually don't think Ridder is a bad QB. I don't think Desmond Ridder is as bad as other fan bases say he is, because all they look at is turnovers. And don't get me wrong, that's a big issue. When you actually watched him play on Sunday, he did make some nice throws at times. He did do some good things with his legs. If he reduced his turnovers by just like 50%, right? I think he had 12 interceptions last year, and he probably lost, I think it was like 8 fumbles. He had three in one game. So let's say he had 20 turnovers. If he just takes that 20 and gets it down to like 10, I think it's a very different conversation about, all right, Desmond Ridder is not the great long term, but he's a very good backup quarterback.
Spot start for you. If you
yeah,
just turn
exactly. It was just the turnovers. And that's kind of like the thing. I felt like a little bit bad for him because some turnovers were just bad. The Panthers game was just an awful decision that ultimately, that moment in history, that right there sunk Ridder and Smith in Atlanta. If Desmond Ridder does not throw that pick against the Panthers, the Falcons win that game. Right off the bat, they are 8-9, just go from 7-10 to 8-9, and they pick up a little bit more juice after that win instead. They don't lose another game. They're 9-8. They're hosting a playoff game, and maybe it's them that beat the Eagles. And we have a that one throw altered the course of Atlanta Falcons history. I don't think that's dramatic, is it? One throw, and not even like a Super Bowl throw. Like wasn't 18, it wasn't 17, it wasn't 16, week 15, right? Didn't they go Panthers, Colts, Bears, Saints? I'm going to look right now. It feels so long ago. Yeah, Panthers, Colts, Bears, Saints. I got it right. Week 15. That one throw in the fourth quarter of week 15 on a rainy day in Charlotte changed this team's trajectory forever. $5 super chat. Rolling in from Jeff Holcomb. First time super chatter, and I don't know if I've ever seen this before. It's a $6 super chat. Maybe an extra, a little 2-clap action for Jeff. Little 1-2. Jeff. Well, if this is true and they just punished Kirk, with all what's going on with Fields, do you think we could still add him as a backup? I think I'll be literally burned at the stake if I mention Justin Fields one more time on this channel.
Yeah.
I think I'll lose all 20,000 subscribers that day.
That ship has sailed.
It would not be just punishing Kirk Cousins.
The player is not going to get punished.
It's the team. They're not interested in coming after Kirk Cousins' wallet, because what does that tell other teams in the future? You can tamper, and if you get caught, we just punish the player. So it'll be the Falcons that get punished, whether it's loss of draft picks or if it is a fine. I also just don't know. I don't know if there's a whole lot of precedent of, are there levels of tampering, right? I don't know exactly what the Dolphins did with Tom Brady, but is this way worse, and that's why they got a first? And if the Falcons are convicted guilty, would they deem it like a third-round pick-worthy level of tampering? Ultimately, I don't know if every single team does this, and some just get caught from time to time. I think we all know those kind of areas of life where everyone's doing it. Just hope you don't get caught. And if you do get caught, you're going to be framed as this awful poster child. But it's like, all right, we're going to stick our head in the sands and act like everyone else is not doing this right now. Kind of gives me vibes of like that state during college football of, oh my God, they committed recruiting violations, bunch of cheaters. It's like, all right, I'm saying the same thing about Florida, but also I know my school is probably doing the same thing too. They got McDonald's bags in Knoxville. So everyone's kind of doing it. Let's see what the NFL does about it. Jeff, to really answer your question at the end, though, I don't see them pursuing Justin Fields. I do think there's a very real chance Justin Fields goes to a team and does not start week 1. a lot of the starting gigs are filled up right now. So unless he wins a job in training camp, like a couple teams that come off of mind here, and Smitty, you can jump in whenever.
Sure.
They're Seattle,
Yeah.
right? They don't feel like they don't have a backup quarterback at the moment.
They do not. There's only one quarterback on the roster. It's Geno Smith.
So if they feel like, all right, it's worthy of bringing in competition for Geno, okay.
If the asking price is still a third-round pick, I think they would decline.
Yep. So the Seahawks come to mind.
The Raiders.
The Raiders a little
They
bit.
just got Gardner Minshew.
They just got Gardner Minshew, and
Right.
the offensive coordinator for the Bears went to Las Vegas. So I don't think they're going to want to trade for Justin Fields.
Okay, true. The Giants.
The Giants make a little bit of sense, although signing Drew Lock.
I don't think that takes them out of the running for Fields because I think Daniel Jones is holding the clipboard all next year.
What about like the Jets?
I mean, injury insurance. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, and the Jets, if they feel like this is Rodgers' only year with them in New York.
Which it could be.
The Patriots.
The Patriots. I mean, he'd be the best quarterback.
What if they decide they don't want to go Jaden Daniels at 3, and their plan all along is to
draft Marvin Harrison.
Draft Marvin Harrison, and then wait for Justin Fields' value to get as low as possible.
Yeah.
And trade for him then.
Trade a fourth for him.
Yeah.
They could do that.
Those are some possibilities. Not gonna be the Bucks. The Saints. Like if Derek Carr isn't really wowing them, what if they make a move for Fields, have him sit for a year, and then they move on from Derek Carr after 2 seasons?
I mean, yeah. Especially like I believe I don't know how much of Carr's contract is guaranteed. Like, is this his only last year of guaranteed money, like Daniel Jones's?
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, then Justin Fields would be like there are avenues for him to go.
Cody Massey points out a good one. Vikings.
I was gonna say
with the Bears trade within the division, a quarterback.
They don't want to get, but you can't get burned.
Dude, that would be nightmare fuel.
It'd be very Bears though.
Yeah.
Very Bears.
All right. 384 people tuned in right now. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us during our live coverage of this Desmond Ridder trade. We got to 207 subscribers. Look at that. Can we get to 210? Nice number to end on right now.
Let's do it.
You know we're going to be having more coverage coming your way throughout all of NFL free agency, so make sure to subscribe to the channel. Are you guys really confident on our defense? They need pass rusher, like Patrick pointed out. You lose your 2 leading sack guys from last season, Bud Dupree and Calais Campbell. Maybe you bring back Calais Campbell. But let's just say you bring back Calais Campbell and it's Dallas Turner at 8, and that's sort of the biggest moves. Sure, there might be a 3rd-round pick, but I don't have big expectations for a round 3 edge rusher. You go into 2024 with Arnold Ebiketie, who I thought played very well down the stretch last year. Dallas Turner, a rookie. Calais Campbell. Grady Jarrett off a torn ACL. Zach Harrison ended the year on a high note. Like, this is an okay room. I don't know if there's a single guy on there that's going to get 10 sacks. And I know that's a common line in the sand for evaluating edge rushers. Are they good or are they not? 10 sacks is good. 9 sacks is bad. Now, if you get 3 guys with 8 sacks, that's 24 right there alone. You get 12 from other players, and I mean, you're not the worst team in the NFL when it comes to pass rush anymore. I do think they need to make much bigger swings at pass rusher. I don't think Dallas Turner at 8 is just enough. There's a real chance. What if Dallas Turner isn't good? We're going to act like busts don't exist in the draft? Put all your eggs in the 8th overall pick to be the solution for getting after the quarterback, the second most important position in football? Feels like this might be a team where they go, well, they can score points, but they can't stop the other team from scoring. I also, I'm going to miss Ryan Nielsen. He was a really good defensive coordinator. I don't really understand why they just let him leave, unless he really did not want to work with Raheem Morris. You got Jesse Bates. He was awesome. Still is awesome. No question about it. Okie dokie. Can we just run through the free agency tracker? We get some more super chats. We can stay live, keep hanging out with you guys. Otherwise, we will have to dip on out of here. So we'll kind of run through the moves the Falcons have made so far, and then we'll look at just the entire NFL in case there have been some signings that have gone down since we've gone live. So here are the moves to catch everyone up to speed on everything Atlanta has done. There's the obvious Kirk Cousins and Darnell Mooney. Charlie Woerner coming over from San Francisco, a bit of a homecoming for him. He gets a 3-year, $12 million contract to back up Kyle Pitts. Storm Norton maintains his spot as this team's swing tackle on the offensive line. Cordarrelle came back on a cheap 1-year contract. And then, of course, there's the Desmond Ridder for Rondale Moore trade. So Atlanta adds 2 wide receivers today after adding Darnell Mooney earlier in free agency. So quickly they are filling out that wide receiver room. I still think pick 43 could easily be spent at wide receiver, but I'm relatively confident that pick number 8 is going to be devoted to the defense. Let's just pick a spot right there. Okay, so let's kind of catch everyone up on some of the other transactions that have gone down in NFL free agency. So we had the Storm Norton, Cordarrelle Hodge. That happened at this point like 2.5 hours ago. Then the Saints signed Nathan Peterman. It pays to be nice. That is the only reason why he's still in the NFL. No one else, no asshole gets a job again after throwing 5 picks in the first half against the Chargers. Then we had Desmond Ridder going for Rondale Moore to the Falcons. Hayden Hurst, he goes to the Chargers. Familiar name. We got the Bears on a 1-year signing. Jerry Tillery, he's off to Minnesota. Joey Bosa, what happened to Joey Bosa?
I assume he must have.
He restructured his contract? Because that's actually. What happened to Joey Bosa? Can someone fill me in? The Dolphins just signing Kendall Fuller.
Oh, wow. Better update that player.
Someone tell me what happened with Joey Bosa.
Restructured contract. Yep.
Yeah, here it is. Both agreed to restructure and both stay in LA. AKA take a pay cut. That's what that means.
Listen, when you're not playing to the standard.
Yeah, I think that's what that means right there. So no trade for Joey Bosa, which is ironic because that's actually what I was thinking of talking about this morning when I woke up. I was like, if I can't have Khalil Mack, I'll look for Joey Bosa. And then most recently, the first cornerback really off the board, the best one. It's Kendall Fuller to Miami. 2 years, 16.5. That's it.
Yeah, wow.
I thought he'd get a longer. I don't understand why the cornerback market is so dead right now.
We got safeties getting paid more.
Yeah. I thought Kendall Fuller would cost way too much for Atlanta opposite of A.J. Terrell. Man, I think I would have been game for. It's still a decent investment, $8+ million a season. But Kendall Fuller, A.J. Terrell, no one's getting after the quarterback. At least have a great secondary where no one gets open, right? So that's kind of I won't say head scratcher because they moved down from Xavier and Howard, and they're not trying to reset or anything like that. They're looking to stay competitive. They were in the playoffs the last 2 straight seasons. All right. If we get another super chat, like I said a moment ago, we can keep the show going. Otherwise, we did kind of steal producer Tyler Smith away from other responsibilities here, and I don't want to hold him up for too much longer. So if we get a super chat, we will keep the show going. Otherwise, I do got to relinquish the studio space, and that's never fun. But I do appreciate everyone for making us your go-to spot for this big trade. I've been a broken record, but I maintain the same position. And quick self-plug, by the way, $10 super chat gets you entered into a Michael Vick autographed mini helmet giveaway. Oh, we got a $5 super chat coming in from Crazy Horse. Let's go. Do you think Falcons will still draft a QB in the draft? I think Atlanta signing a 4-year contract with Kirk Cousins really lowers the chance of them going quarterback early. I think every team, most 99% of the time, maybe not 99, 95% of the time, a team should draft a quarterback every single year. If they only have 4 or 5 picks and there's not a good one, then don't take one. But I do think the quarterback position is just such a beyond important position that it's worth throwing the dart at. And in round 3, you're kind of blindfolding yourself and being spun around and then asking to throw the dart. But 1 out of a million times, you do get a Brock Purdy. And how cool would it be for Atlanta if something were to happen to Kirk Cousins and they've got their Brock Purdy on the bench? And that's why I just think that position is just so crucial. If you're going to miss on a 7th-round pick, what position does it matter? If you're going to hit on a 7th-round pick, would you rather hit on an offensive tackle or a quarterback? I personally would go with the quarterback. So I still think Atlanta could draft a quarterback. I don't think it's going to be maybe as early as they once planned, because with him on a 4-year contract, I look at it as a 3-year, $100 million contract, maybe even a 2-year, $100 million, and it's $50 million for 2 seasons, and then they can likely get out with little dead money after 2 years if Kirk Cousins' age is really catching up to him at that point of his career. I feel like drafting a guy now would probably be a year too early unless someone just blows them away and they can't go on life without him, right? If they're like watching this guy, Michael Pratt, he is the next Kirk Cousins, where he's a round 3 pick that we just simply cannot pass on if he's available. They had that Tulane guy, yeah. Joe Milton, Spencer Rattler. So if they feel that strongly, sure. But I think if they traded for Justin Fields, they likely would have been targeting quarterback a little bit more in the draft. Now, I think they pull back a little bit on the main thrust for quarterback in the draft. Crazy Horse, thank you so much for your super chat. Really appreciate your support here at the channel. I think a quarterback pick next year would time up a lot better for Kirk Cousins' lifespan in Atlanta. Let's say he plays 3 seasons with the Falcons, okay? Pick a quarterback this year. He backs up Kirk for years 1, 2, and 3 of his rookie contract. You kind of find yourself in a tough spot where he plays his 4th year and basically his 1st season, and you've got 1 year to make a decision whether or not to extend him. Whereas if you pick a guy next year and Kirk plays 3 years, he backs up Kirk for years 2 and 3 in Atlanta, and then you get 2 years of that guy on his rookie deal. And after 2 seasons, you should have a good idea whether or not he's the guy. So I think next year or the following year makes a much more logical sense for an earlier pick quarterback. But come day 3, full send on picking a quarterback if you like the guy. If you miss on him, boo-hoo. You lost out on a 5th, a 6th, or a 7th. Those hit percentages are so low anyway, that shouldn't make or break, or that should not sink you if that pick does not work out. The guy you were going to take that wasn't a quarterback in round 6, probably going to suck anyway. And that's how 90% of them work out, right? Okay. I appreciate everyone for tuning in to our coverage here. If we get another super chat, like I said, we'll keep it rolling. Otherwise, we do have to get on out of here. Crazy Horse doing his part, keeping the show alive. Let's go, Crazy Horse 38. Some people are saying draft Rattler. I can't stand Spencer Rattler. Just on a personal level, like the way he carries himself after watching. And in my opinion, it's outdated. I know that. It comes from watching QB1 when he was in high school, and who wasn't a bit of a jerk in high school. But if you're going to be an NFL franchise quarterback, there's got to be some leadership qualities to you. And I don't know if he's got them. Here, spell clock correctly. Just not a big Spencer Rattler guy. All right, we'll put Smitty's putting the timer on. 2-minute super chat shot clock. Here we go. If we get a super chat in the next 2 minutes, we'll keep the show going. Otherwise, it is deuces from our end. In the meantime, let's see what you guys are saying. George Williams, no need if we have Heineke. Yeah, I think kind of lost in the Desmond Ridder trade is this really helps Taylor Heineke's chances of staying in Atlanta and backing up Kirk Cousins. And there probably being another quarterback addition, whether that's later in the draft or a UDFA or maybe another free agent signing, right? One closer to training camp or something like that, or at least someone during OTAs. Because if you think about it, Kirk Cousins probably won't be going through all the drills during the spring. You're going to need someone there to at least help run the drills, right? Throw the football to the wide receivers. So there's probably going to be one more quarterback signing and like kind of like the Logan Woodside level signing. You know what I mean? Cole, $8 super chat. Reset that timer. Let's go, Cole. Cole, way to shoot your shot, man. Appreciate you. We're also at 182. We can get to $200 in super chats.
I'll do a beer shotgun.
I was gonna say
beer shotgun race.
Yeah, beer shotgun race. If we get a $20 super chat.
Okay.
Deal.
I'm in.
$20 super chat. Beer shotgun race. Put the timer back on for beer shotgun race. Do 3 minutes for Cole. George, Grady needs help and Jesse Bates, and we need to protect the $180 million. I think the Falcons have a good plan in place to protect Kirk Cousins. That offensive line is great. So Jesse Bates, I think Jesse Bates and Richie Grant can get the job done, no problem this year. If you don't like Richie Grant for this year, you can start looking for a replacement. But I think during free agency, everyone gets super, myself included, impatient and just wants to get all the best players possible. I do think there has to have some resemblance of a farm system in place of drafting well, giving those draft picks an opportunity, and if they play well, don't yank the job away from them because we wanted to sign a guy in March. I just don't know what kind of message that sends to the locker room of, hey, doesn't matter how well you play next year. Like, we're going to sign someone in free agency to replace you. That's just not the best environment, and I don't think that creates a good camaraderie of the team. Yes, if you suck, you should get replaced, but if you play well, what kind of message does that send to the rest of the players? You know what I mean? I do not. Well, PD loves Heineke. I said Taylor Heineke would be the next Ryan Fitzpatrick of the league, where if he comes in off the bench, middle of the game, he can provide some spark moments for you. He had that in Washington. That did not happen in Atlanta. No, he lost that magic. Crazy Horse with a $5 super chat. Let's go. Crazy Horse. That's what I'm talking about. We'll put it on screen. We'll reset the shot clock to 3 minutes. Do the Falcons trade back from 8 and get picks from QB-needy team? I like this question a lot from Crazy Horse. Oh, Derek with another one. All right, Crazy Horse, let me answer your question now. What if the Broncos call? Or the Vikings? Picking at 11 and 12 would not be blown away if one of those two teams picks up the phone and asks for the 8th overall pick. And if you think about it, the Bears at 9, I think, are going to go wide receiver. Number 10 is the Jets. They're great at defense. I don't see them going Dallas Turner. If it's the 11 spot Vikings calling up, Atlanta goes from 8 to 11, they still get Dallas Turner, right? Because if the Vikings jump up to 8, they go J.J. McCarthy. I think 9, the Bears would go wide receiver, either Roma Dunze or Malik Neighbors. They lost Darnell Mooney, and they have not replaced him since. Number 10, the Jets, I don't think go defensive line. They've done that far too many years now. And Atlanta at 11 could get the same guy and just recoup maybe a third-round draft pick they lose due to the tampering issues. If they trade with the Broncos at 12, maybe the Vikings take Dallas Turner at 11. That is a possibility. It's a gamble to pay. But if you go from 8 to 12, you might be getting a little bit more than just a third-round pick. Crazy Horse, thank you for the super chat. Another super chat, and Atlanta Dog, let's go. Derek Jenkins, love the moves the Falcons are making rise up. Also, want to give a shout-out to my wife, Valerie. Shout-out to Valerie. Great song. Yeah. Whitney Houston.
Yeah.
They were playing that at the bar I was at for New Year's Eve, and, I mean, I went into a different dimension on New Year's Eve.
Oh, we had a good time.
I don't remember it.
It was great.
My soul left my body at about 11:30.
You had one of your favorite beers.
I was crushing everything I had. Tiny bar was packed. I was taking like 8 drinks at a time. It
was a regional beer.
It's a Kronenberg. It's from France. And we were at this like British pub, and I never see it, and they had it. I was like, I'll take that.
Yeah.
And I finished the whole keg.
I think they might have played that at the piano bar that you recommended to me out.
Oh yeah, I love that. Great song, all-time song. Mm-hmm. Derek. And most importantly, shout out to your wife, Valerie. Rise up, Valerie. Atlanta Dog 88. Put me down for 2 more entries. Done and done.
And we got a beer
shotgun race. Let's go, Atlanta Dog 88. My man. And Roger that, I like turtles. You like turtles?
What a meme from the that's a blast from the past.
Yeah.
Like
that's what I was thinking. I'm like
2011, 2012, like prime Instagram memes, like I like turtles, like that's
all-timer.
That's OG. I do like turtles, but like that is all-time stuff.
Are we ready for a shotgun race?
Yeah.
Can you? Yeah, I'm gonna need you to.
Let's go get some beverages.
Let's get some beverages. I'll take the shot fun.
Sure.
Can't beat that one. Okay, appreciate all the super chats coming in. It really means a ton to me. Derek Jenkins, Valerie, Crazy Horse, Atlanta Dog, Roger that. Thank you guys so much. And quick self-plug and just a reminder, if you're just tuning in, $10 super chat. We're doing a Michael Vick autographed helmet giveaway at the end of the month. So it's not going to be at the end of the show today, but we will add up and accumulate all the $10 super chats. So Atlanta Dog got 2 entries, for example, with that one right there. So if you want to come home with this bad boy and you want to support the show in the process, it's a good way to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Prince Travis, too bad the Falcons are going to have to give up a pick for tampering. So if you are just tuning in, I do feel like while Smitty go gets the beverages, I can kind of recap a little bit of the tampering stuff. So most of this, what I'm going to read to you, comes from Mike Florio at Pro Football Talk, where I should let you know the bias he may have. He's a Vikings fan. maybe upset that Kirk Cousins left for Atlanta. Possibility. But he's a professional, so maybe he's putting that to the side. I also know that he got really upset when he put out a report that said Kirk Cousins is looking for a home in Atlanta. And people are like, you don't know shit, Florio. You don't have scoops. How would you know that? And then he put out a tweet later. It's like, you guys don't think I know what I'm doing? Like, I've been doing this for 23 years. What's that? Yeah. I've been doing it 23 years. I've got all these people on my show at the Combine. So he got really upset that people were like, dude, stop it. Stay in your lane, Florio. You don't get scoops like this. And then he said Kyle Pitts and Kirk Cousins were talking about a number 8 jersey swap. And Kyle Pitts quote tweeted, and I was like, you guys just making up anything for clicks? And I don't think Mike Florio liked that at all. So he's got some ammunition to try and really bury Kirk Cousins right now because he was being called out for making up a fake thing with Kyle Pitts, and it's his favorite team's quarterback. So maybe he's a little salty. Maybe not, but that's just, the whole story at least, the whole picture. Oh, yeah. Is it cold? It has to be ice cold. If it's not ice cold, it won't puncture. Really? Yeah, I'll explain the science from you. Yeah, Smitty is bringing me a freaking lukewarm beer to do a shotgun race with. But, it doesn't work in the shot fun. So, as I was saying, though, Mike Florio, he outlined 4 possible tampering violations that could have occurred. He said, first, the team officials communicate with Cousins or his agent, Mike McCartney, before the start of the 52-hour negotiating window. That's the most common type of tampering, and it usually triggers a little bit more than a shrug from the league. It starts typically at the scouting combine with communications that lay for the foundation for the formal offer made once the negotiating window opens. So, if that's really the only thing that happened, maybe it's a fine, right? I don't think just talking a little bit before the legal tampering is going to get a huge reaction out of the league, but they don't want teams thinking they can do this every single year. He also wrote, second, did Cousins or McCartney provide medical information to the Falcons before the start of the 52-hour negotiating window? Given the unique combination of serious injury, massive contract, and speed with which it was negotiated, common sense suggests that the Falcons knew something before embarking on active negotiations. If Atlanta did have Kirk Cousins come into the facility to meet with their doctors and get a look at that Achilles, that is a much more serious infraction than just Raheem Morris chatting with Kirk Cousins' agent at the NFL Combine. Now we might get into some tough ground here. Third, did tight end Kyle Pitts or other players recruit Cousins with the knowledge of or at the direction of the team? Ordinarily, the tampering rules don't apply to players. That changes when players act as messengers for the organizations. Pitts, who strongly denied rumors linking Cousins to Atlanta last week, was actively recruiting Cousins then and previously. Cousins said so himself. The effort by Pitts to conceal it suggests an awareness that the Falcons might have been doing something that breaks the rules. That's in reference to Kyle Pitts quote tweeting Florio and saying, I didn't talk to him about my jersey. This is cap. You're making stuff up, right? Fourth, and most importantly, did Cousins speak to or meet with the Falcons officials before 4 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday? Cousins admitted in his introductory press conference that he spoke with the team's head athletic trainer on Tuesday. He initially used the word meeting before stopping himself and changing it to calling. Cousins also mentioned talking to Director of Player Personnel Ryan Pace, although Cousins didn't specifically say the Pace conversation happened before 4 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday. Pace's phone records will provide a simple and easy answer. So, we'll have to wait and see what goes down. But we do owe a shotgun race. No, Chris Tyler. What's going on, Chris Tyler? Tua's little bro in the 7th round. Hey, Nick Saban sees something in him, and we know the NFL is Nick's football league. Does Nick Saban have a great track record with quarterbacks, though? Mac Jones. Jalen Hurts. Oh, that's Oklahoma quarterback. Lincoln Riley's quarterback. Tua. I don't think Tua's a bad quarterback. I think Nick Saban would probably be a little surprised of where he's at his career. Yeah. So I don't know if it's simply Nick Saban likes you as a quarterback. You're going to be great in the NFL. Okay, so the scientist, Smitty, was trying to do me a solid. He brought me like not a warm beer, but like not a super cold beer, air conditioned beer. The thing is that when I pull this trigger right here, you see something kind of sticks out, right? Like Smitty in the bedroom. So that's gonna puncture. I know that was really mean. That's gonna puncture a hole in the can. Okay, if the can's not cold, it can't puncture, right? If it's a warm can, it's not as fragile metal.
Okay. That makes sense.
When the can's warm, when the can is warm, the metal will bend a little bit.
Okay.
Whereas when it's cold,
Oh,
if you slice it, it'll be a clean slice.
So it's a slice. Okay. So it's like a shock. Like if you want to warm up here for an actual shock.
Yes.
It bends.
Okay. Are we ready to rumble? Who's gonna win? Petey or Smitty? P or S?
Come on.
P or S?
I gotta vanquish this guy because he hates my university.
I actually, the Bonnies would be my 5th team.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know who 3 for 4 is, but if they're ever actually in March Madness, I will pick them to win a game.
Let's go. I'm glad I'm turning the tide.
Are we ready to rumble?
Do it.
I do. Don't get on my computer.
Rise up, my friend.
Here we go. 3, 2. Oh, that's cold.
That is ice cold.
I like the shot fun as a mechanism. It's actually not very quick, though.
It doesn't provide a big enough hole.
No, and I think the issue is like the time it takes,
Yeah.
right?
It's not an immediate like
Yeah.
rush right at you.
Oh, that boy. Falcons made a signing.
Really?
That's what I'm being told in the chat. Or am I getting got? What do we think it is? No, it's real. They signed a wide receiver. Ray McCloud.
Oh, really?
2-year deal worth up to $6 million. Tom Pelissero first. Might be. There he is indeed. Did Coop get the video out from earlier? It's on the channel. Okay, interesting. Well, let's get some Ray McCloud graphics at least here. Yeah. You know, yeah. What I think I might do is maybe we'll run back the tampering part and just do Ray McCloud and tampering. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, I like that part. I like that idea. Okay. A little bit left over. Can I get the trash can? All right, so this time Ray McCloud, wide receiver. You might remember his name with the 49ers for a stretch. He's not a bad player. Imagine someone tuning in right now for Ray McCloud news, and that's the visual they're greeted with. Me drinking out of a toy shotgun. What an all-time sales pitch to join the channel. All right, Ray McCloud signing. He's going to bring some special teams value. That's really the first thing that comes to mind. Looking at his stats from last year, I'm just going to go off the fly right now with you guys. Yeah, in his career, keep in mind, since 2018, 768 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, 90 grabs. Last year, 12 grabs, 135 yards. He is a special teamer through and through. So let's make a Ray McCloud little cut here. Okay, yeah. We don't need any graphics. Just the L3 is fine. Yeah. Avery, Cardinals fan here. Should I be excited? I'm gonna let the chat answer that question. What do you like turnovers? Because if so, I got the man for you. If you don't, which would be a pretty reasonable take, you may not like Desmond Ridder. He is addicted to turnovers. It's a pretty cool addiction, except if you're on his team. So no, I would not be. I do think he is not an awful quarterback. Like, I do think he can make good throws, like velocity, accuracy down the field, like the actual makeup of a good quarterback. I do think he has some pieces. If someone could just coach the turnovers out of him, I think he's going to make a nice backup quarterback for a team. I don't see a way he completely eliminates that from his game, though. Like, at this point of his just overall football career, college, 2 years of the NFL, like, it's tough. It's very rare to see a guy just completely go 180 on their entire game. So if he can reduce the turnovers, I think if Kyler Murray gets hurt and you need Desmond Ridder to start 2 weeks and then you go into the bye and Kyler comes back after a month, I think you go 1-1 with Desmond Ridder, right? And I think that's exactly what you need out of Desmond Ridder. Yep. Okay, yeah. Ray McCloud, kind of run through his stats with you guys here. Yeah, last season, kick and punt returns. Remember, Atlanta kind of struggled at that spot. They had some injuries. It wasn't Avery Williams that got hurt. But last year in 2023, 203 punt return yardage, 225 kick return yardage, 24 punt returns, 10 kick returns. So he's a special teamer. 2-year deal worth up to $6 million, though. $3 million is a good amount of change for a special teamer. So the Falcons, I feel like they have addressed their Cordarrelle Patterson replacement, and maybe they offer a little bit more of some spunk on offense, although Rondale Moore is kind of in that similar boat, wouldn't you say, of undersized, speedy, gadget-type guy. They got 2 of them now, in Ray McCloud and Rondale Moore. So a lot of speed being added to this Falcons team. All right. Are we ready to kind of, well, let me know whenever you're ready, Smitty. Okay. Yeah, let's do this thing. You're right. As a Steelers fan, Ray was great for guys on Pittsburgh for 2 seasons before San Francisco. That's when he kind of, made a little bit more of a name for himself in the return game. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the Ray McCloud signing, and then we'll throw it back to my old self in terms of the illegal tampering allegations with Kirk Cousins and the Falcons, and then we will sign off and let you guys get back to the rest of your Thursday afternoons. All right, producer Smitty getting everything ready on screen for you all, and then we'll talk about Ray McCloud. Here we go. The Falcons have made another wide receiver addition. This time it is wide receiver Ray McCloud. 2-year deal worth up to $6 million. He comes over from the 49ers in free agency. And let me just start by saying this. This is your Cordarrelle Patterson replacement, right? They got Rondale Moore in a trade with Desmond Ridder. That's a ton of speed. And now they double down on that speed with Ray McCloud on a pretty lucrative contract for a return man. I mean, we've got some fun stats and facts for you guys here. Ray McCloud, the NFL punt return yards leader back in 2021. This is what he is being signed and paid to do. As a wide receiver, he doesn't have a whole lot of stats to go off of. Last year, I'm just reading this off my monitor, he had 12 receptions, 135 yards with the Niners. His best season was the 2021 season with the Steelers when he was awesome in punt returns. And in the receiving department, 39 grabs for 277 yards, no touchdowns. So primarily, he is a special teamer with some upside in the receiving department, but I think we are noticing a bit of a trend for Atlanta. They are really targeting speed at the wide receiver position, right? You can look at the Falcons wide receiver depth chart in a moment here, which is just growing by the day here with Darnell Mooney, Rondale Moore, and Cordarrelle Hodge all being signed or traded in the last 48 hours. And you toss Ray McCloud in the mix there as well. But the recent additions of Mooney, Moore, McCloud, these are not 6'3" receivers, right? These are not 3rd and 5 targets. This is, we are going deep. We are getting speed. something Atlanta just didn't have a whole lot of last year. It's not like Drake London's the fastest guy on the field. He's a bigger body receiver. So now the Falcons try to pair him with guys that maybe can fill in the cracks a little bit on his own game. So by no means is Drake London slow, but I think we can all agree that Atlanta's got a type right now when it comes to wide receiver, and it is fast, and that is what they are looking for. So grade the signing of Ray McCloud for me, A, B, C, D, or F. Now, we actually filmed a whole video before you started watching this one about the legal tampering or illegal tampering with Kirk Cousins allegation. So what we're going to do is actually going to throw it back to old me from like an hour ago when I filmed that, so we get it all into one video. All right. Got some tampering, got some signings, got some stuff going on here. I like it. It's a big day for the Falcons. All right. I think we're going to sign off. I do appreciate everyone who came in and hung out with us for the trade, the tampering, the Ray McCloud news. It's been a busy couple days for Atlanta Falcons fans.
I think they have a lot of optimism going into the season, and rightfully so. It's going to be the most fun year you've had since you drafted Kyle Pitts, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it's definitely going to – it should be the most fun season since 2017. Right?
2017.
Last playoff year.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully that streak ends here. All right, we are going to sign off, though. I really appreciate everyone for tuning in. Have a good rest of your Thursday, and if we get more news, you know where to come to for the latest on the Atlanta Falcons.